it's so cliche, but yeah, there's a lot of bitter dudes on there. And then the world is awful. The women that control it are awful. It's like a circle jerk of negativity and hate. So there's a lot of good benefits. But taking it wholesale, taking all of it is garbage. It's nonsense. And you need to take on what is useful and disregard everything that is useless. And there's a lot of garbage on the red pill forum, you know? And so it's like the people that are left there are the loudest voices, the ones that are still, you know, getting woke and think that they're somehow in the know on some dark, you know, realities, you know? Yeah, okay. You're just hanging around with a bunch of angry dudes online. You know, that's really what you're doing. All right, we're talking about the 3 reasons the red pill sucks. The TRP, the red pill Reddit. Number 1. Misogyny. The old school misogyny. Go ahead. Thoughts?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of misogyny in it. It's you know, it's so cliche, but yeah, there's a lot of bitter dudes on there that are angry. Some of them legitimately so, some of them just venting, you know, sort of staying in the anger phase, and they just start, you know, we're all right, we did all right, we're the nice guy, and then the world is awful, the women that control it are awful. It's like a circle jerk of negativity and hate for girls. And frankly, after a while, that's one of the main reasons I left. I sort of started, I kept thinking, I'm like, well, this doesn't map reality. You know, I took what is useful, and you know, the misogyny basically is just like, man, if all women are this way and you keep walking around that world, and I get it, there's a lot of shitty people, but there's also a lot of shitty, you know, shitty women, shitty men. Like, yeah. You don't have to keep, you know, taking the red pill and seeing the true reality, and they sort of like look at themselves as like these, you know, underdogs, and they're angelic, and they're these, you know, like, oh, I'm a man. And there's like I said about the community, there's a lot of good things, but in terms of just the shit that is thrown at the opposite sex, doesn't map reality, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, yeah, to me it just comes off as guys who have been burned or scorned before, or just could never get laid, and so they're really bitter about it, and they're just blaming women for it.
Right.
And I can understand too. It's like if you were in a really messy divorce and your ex-wife was a total bitch, you know, that's fair, but don't then just attribute that to all women.
Right.
And then they all, like, the use of, oh, well, that's just how all women are, like,
right.
They're gold diggers, it's just biology, is also just very misogynistic in its
and I don't use that word lightly, because, you know, that word is thrown a lot at like men, but I do feel that it's really fairly evident. There's a lot of angry dudes on there that are, you know, they think they're woke on they're like the opposite of SJWs, you know, the mirror image of the feminist, you know, like the raging feminist, you know.
Yeah. Well, sorry, go on.
Well, go ahead. What were we gonna say?
Oh, well, just in the sense of, like, the raging feminist hates men.
That's right.
And
blames all men are rapists.
Right,
and,
it's the patriarchy, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, and then I think a lot of, like, red pillars see that and then just do the exact same thing with women.
Exactly.
And it's like, if you're trying to get laid, like, that's not going to help you.
Right. Which, okay, takes me on to the next point, which is, you know how basically you go to a school now and you're indoctrinated into like a liberal SJW world, you know, the patriarchy and, you know, down with capitalism, and it does have a left-wing bent on, and we again say this as huge progressives.
Not all colleges do.
Right.
And it depends on like what departments. But I would say, yeah, colleges tend to be more liberal.
Right. So, and I would say unrationally so. Even with times where they don't teach critical thinking, they do a lot in a lot of ways. Like feminists nowadays, some of them are not the most, especially in college, aren't the most
deep thinkers, when it comes to certain issues, especially ones that call all men are rapists, and the oppression Olympics.
I mean, I would argue though that most feminists don't believe that all men are rapists. That's like
the loudest voices, let's just say, do. Would you agree?
I don't even know if it's the loudest voices. I mean, there are definitely a few women who are, who identify as feminists and say that all men are rapists, but that's a very, very small minority.
Let me just say that what I find the red pill to be is that it's a collectivist sort of like taking it whole. When you swallow the red pill, you sort of take on, instead of like taking on and critically thinking about parts of it, you just take on the whole thing. Mm-hmm. Okay, just as if somebody in a school comes in, they're 18 years old and they're learning about the patriarchy, and they don't really think it through. They don't try to dissect it and say, they just take it on and just start saying, regurgitating words. Mm-hmm. And that's what I feel, what I've seen on that subreddit, people do on the red pill. Mm-hmm. They just start regurgitating the cock cursel, whatever the fuck it is, and then they like hypergamy, and then it's all the pseudoscience and all women, and basically they're not walking through the world and thinking for themselves. And okay, this is good, this is bad, this doesn't seem true to me. Let me test it. Let me see what how this turns out. They just take it on wholesale. Oh, I'm now woke on the red pill, and I'm red pilling everywhere, and they start regurgitating this. Some of it, a lot of it, is garbage about the world. Not true. And what I found, why I left, is I took what I needed. I kept a good mindset. I worked on myself. Worked on my money, my attitude. And I was like, nah, I'm not feeling this negativity. And I haven't found a lot of the things that you talk about. Granted, they made a lot of good points, and for self-development, I think they do make a lot of good points. Working on your goals, improving yourself as a man, not really going with the cultural norms when they don't work for you. Don't get married most of the times unless you really need to, or there's a specific reason for it. So there's a lot of good benefits, but taking it wholesale, taking all of it, is garbage. It's nonsense, and you need to take on what is useful and disregard everything that is useless. And there's a lot of garbage on the red pill form. And I also think that there's a lot of survivalship bias, meaning the people that stay there tend to still be very angry, bitter. They still have just a negative experience of the world, of women. And the people that actually just use it, like me, that are enjoying life, that are liking what they're doing and find a great partner, just move on and aren't part of the community anymore. They're just like, oh yeah, okay, cool, I'm gone. Like I took what I needed, disregarded the rest, and yeah, okay, keep hating the world and women, and and I'm gonna go I'm gonna do my own thing and have fun, and so it's like the people that are left there are the loudest voices, the ones that are still getting woke, and think that they're somehow in the know on some dark realities. Yeah, okay, you're just hanging around with a bunch of angry dudes online. That's really what you're doing. And I get, and there's a lot of good advice, but also just make sure you're taking the good advice and really testing the shitty advice, and really seeing if it's like, okay, are all women just harpy, pieces of shit that are gonna suck you dry? Like, okay, really? If you found that, just how much are you mapping reality, actually seeing reality, and how much are you just putting that onto reality and trying to make that true?
Yeah, I mean, also because that's just like kind of a shitty mindset to have. Like, if you honestly believe that all women are gold diggers, like, that kind of sucks.
It's just their nature. They're hypergamous. They're hypergamy.
Like, no, because women can make the same thing of like all men being like disgusting, like pigs and blah blah blah.
Exactly.
And that sucks.
You could flip it both ways.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of shitty people in general. There's a lot of shitty people. There's a lot of dumb people. And that's another thing. If you're hanging around good people, are you really having that experience? If you're finding badass women and men around you, and you're a happy person, and you're developing and you're growing whatever your business, or you're crushing your career, and you're experiencing life, you're enjoying life, you have your money right, you have your game right, you're picking up girls, or you're in a great relationship, are you really going to be hanging around the TRP? Like, what's Reddit going to what's the red pill going to offer you? I mean, yeah, just be it's just going to give you negativity. And at some point, it doesn't map reality. It just is like you're just reading the stuff and regurgitating it.
One thing that I found sort of interesting, and I guess MGTOW is a little different from the red pill, but they they do have similarities.
They overlap.
And I find it funny that with MGTOW and even with red pill too, where it's like going against what society is dictating for you and things like that. But they don't really like that when women do that. Like
Right.
if a woman doesn't want to get married yet or at all. And it's like, oh, well, she's just like trying to move up and blah, blah, blah. She doesn't want to settle down. And like,
I think that would be a little different from MGTOW. I don't know their perspective. We need to, hear it a little more. Traditionalists do have that.
I mean, this is just from what I've heard, where it's like blaming women for being gold diggers and for, oh, well, they want to have fun in their 20s and they don't want to settle down until they're in their 30s when their like clock is ticking and, and it's like shitty. How dare women do that? But it's like but like for men, it's like you guys want to, date around in your 20s and you don't necessarily want to settle down or get married. So like, why are you blaming women for wanting to do the same thing?
It's the fall of the West. It's the reality, the feminist agenda. Yeah. Okay, guys.
And also, anytime someone says the feminist agenda, it's like, okay,
you watch
think about that.
Yeah. Listen, there's a lot of shitty feminists, but just test reality. Don't take it on wholesale. It's like if I told you about Catholicism and let's say you even like it, but would you really believe that, Jesus rose from some people literally believe that shit, but if you literally believe in hell, then you should be in the middle of Times Square in New York, preaching everybody to please stop, because or else they'll be eternally damned. You don't really believe that garbage. So please test other things that you take on before. If you're suddenly paleo and you realize like, man, I don't feel so good when I eat paleo, it's your body telling you something. And so if you're seeing you took on a new ideology, the red pill, and it's not working, it's not mapping reality, test it. See if you're an actually happier person. Are you getting better results? Or are you seeing just confirmation bias everywhere you go? Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. It's a big circle jerk, a lot of it. I do want to make a video on why they're the good things about it, though. So that will be next in the playlist. Good things about red pill.
Okay.